Hey, what's up, peeps? Sean Green here, SoccerCoachTV. You know who we are. Got a great guest here today. We got Julianne Jones. She is a former elite, not average. I'm talking about elite, not Division III, not Division II, but Division One athlete in America. And for you people out there in the audience who are not familiar with college soccer in the U.S., it is just like professional sports all over the world. You have to be the best of the best to play at the highest level. And Julianne Jones, right here, played at that level. She's an entrepreneur. She's a mother of three. She's got a great story about her life. It inspired me, and that's why I wanted to invite her onto the show and talk about her journey that she's been through. As a very successful woman. And hey, good morning, Julie. How are you?
Morning. Wonderful. I'm blessed, sir. Thank you for having me here.
Are you an early riser? Do you get up early in the morning?
I'd rather early and go to bed, and now I'm being called a grandma because I like to retire early in the night and get up again and start early. Yeah. Yep.
You know, I think that through this whole pandemic, it's one of the big things that I've noticed is the change in sleep cycles. You know, I went through this phase where I gradually went to bed later and later and later. And then as a consequence, getting up later. And I'm normally an early riser. I like to be up, you know, at least about 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
I think Mark Wahlberg, you know who he is, right?
I do.
I think he believes, and there's other people like they believe that, you know, the day's wasted. They get up at like 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and they hit the gym.
Yep.
They get more accomplished before, you know, 7 o'clock in the morning than most.
Yeah.
You know,
they say you can sleep when you die.
But Julie, in 1995, you were a pioneer because you were one of the first players in the history of Central Connecticut University women's soccer program. You were there when it all began. And tell us a little bit about your journey from East Lyme High School there as a soccer star to Central Connecticut State University.
Crazy. You say 95, and I'm like, a dinosaur, right? 95? So East Lyme High School and the shift to college, first of all, is a huge shift. You can be a star in high school and then come to college and it's a different level of play. So our first year, 95, I came in and handed you a VHS tape with just me sprinting and scoring and running and, you know, drills. And you said, okay, let's give her scholarship. And that, Sean, I have to tell you, I probably haven't ever even shared this with you. I'm sure you've been told by other players, the fact that you said yes, the fact that I went to play for Central, the fact that it was the first year for women's and scored the second goal. I thought that was all such a big deal then, but it's shifted now to be like, what did soccer do for me? And what direction did it point me in? So I had a pretty traumatic childhood, and soccer kept me out of trouble, man. I attached and slept with that soccer ball.
I was going to say, if soccer was not in your life at that point, today, how do you think that would have changed?
I'd honestly have to say, I'd be in a different world. I'd be in some serious trouble. My mom luckily located us to East Lyme, which is a wealthier town in Connecticut, and we got our education there. But my siblings and I just tumultuous, to say the least. So if I didn't have soccer in my life, I needed the leadership. I needed the team mentality. Soccer gave me everything, more than I can probably share.
What was your best memory playing with those women when the program first started?
I'll give you a really funny one, is playing Boston College for the first time. And I'm about 5'1", maybe, with cleats on, right? Spikes. And Boston College was, she seemed to just tower over me. But my skill was I kept the ball close and I was quick. So you can't take the ball or retrieve possession if you can't get it from me. So that's probably one of my best memories is, wow, this girl's huge, but we got to win.
You know what it is? I had this conversation the other day with a couple of players, and I was just telling them, remind them, is that what you did is incredibly difficult. And what I mean by that is it is at the highest level. And it takes commitment, not just on the field, but it's a full-time job. You know, you're traveling, you're training every day, you're hitting the gym, you've got work, you've got study hall for academics at the same time, and not everybody's cut out for that. Everybody wants to, everybody wants to be a pro, everybody wants to be a D1 player, but they don't, everybody doesn't want to put the work effort in and the sacrifices it takes to do that. And, I try to remind my players that we get so caught up because athletes are so motivated, so goal orientated, okay? And that, so as soon as you achieve one goal, your focus or your lens is right onto the next goal. And sometimes, Julie, you got to stop. And you have to, I tell them, when you wake up, look in the mirror and give yourself a pat in the back, for where you're at. Because I'm sure and you were saying before soccer, you had some challenges in your childhood. And the thing is, I'm sure this resonates with you. I'm sure there's people in high school that you can reflect back on now who, for one reason or another, went down a different path. Great athletes, or great musicians, or great at, all different areas, yet they chose to, to go down a path which took them, away from maybe reaching their full potential. And that's a difficult thing to do. And sometimes it's okay. You can go down the wrong path. But at some point, the smart people will turn around and get back on that right track again. And obviously, but, the point I'm bringing this up is that what you've achieved, even just at a young age, 19, 20, 21, is a phenomenal achievement, which very few people can claim to,
I appreciate that.
Tell me about the biggest lesson you learned that you still resonates with you more than anything else. What was the one thing that you learned by being an athlete in college?
Ooh, I'd probably have to say just showing up. Just show up. It's hard to show up for ourselves. And you can take it from, I don't want to go to practice, or I had drinks the night before, or it's too early and I don't want to be in the gym lifting weights at 6 a.m. But when you just show up, you can have a shift there where I'm ready to go. My teammates are now motivating me, or my coach is saying you're going to have to run hills with a player on your back if you don't lift, right? And so probably one of my biggest things would be to just finding a way to show up for yourself, being brave enough to show up.
And you have 3 girls. You got 3 girls, correct?
I do.
And did any of them, did they play soccer? Did you force that on them, or as a soccer mom? Were you the soccer mom who was yelling on the sidelines and screaming at the games? Or
I'm not going to say I didn't yell.
Living vicariously through your kids. Come on.
I purposefully didn't. So I was a younger mom. I had Taya right after my senior year at CCSU. And so I had just turned 22 and 2 weeks later gave birth to Taya. She now will be 21 in August. She played soccer since she could run. And she played at Farmington Sports Arena. And then she went on in high school. And then she blew out her left knee, meniscus, and ACL, and then rehabbed that, Sean, and then tore the right one right after. Wow. So she's got 2 scars to prove it. But what she'll tell you is, I'm happy it happened when it did, Mom, because she went to college running track. Surgeon just said run in a straight line. So she's an incredible athlete, but she did play. My younger 2 have dabbled a little bit. I've coached them a little bit, but my heart is to bring whatever soccer life is left in me and those values into impoverished areas where kids will never have a soccer ball. That's where my heart is now.
How do you fulfill that then?
I have a couple of places. There's a Legacy Foundation right off of Albany Avenue in Hartford. And Greg Jones is the founder there. And I've connected with him a few times and gotten some kids in the inner city together. No cell phones, have your shirts tucked in, be on time, and taking some values that I learned in soccer and now playing more of, instead of the player, playing that leadership or maybe a mentor role to some kids that have trouble with overweight, obesity, diet, stuff like that.
Well, Julie, I'd certainly look to offer my services for the Legacy program. If you ever want me to come down and put the kids through some, fun practice sessions, I just have a great time. I'd love to come down. I'd probably bring a couple of soccer players down with me. I'd love to
that would
extend
be
that to you.
wonderful.
That's great. I mean, one of the greatest gifts I think that athletes probably understand is servant leadership. We have a big commitment at our program to community relations, serving the community. You got to see yourself in the bigger picture, don't you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's easy to fall into that trap of me, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's doing things for others and expecting nothing in return. We see that every day now when, those people on the front line, those nurses, those restaurant workers, you could go on and on and on.
100%.
So during your college days, okay, I recruited a player called Sean Sant. And he was your high school sweetheart, apparently?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
And you dated for a long time. Well, how did you meet Sean?
We were at a round robin. I lived in Niantic. He lived in New London. And in between was a town called Waterford. And Dwayne Stallings, who played basketball for UConn and soccer in New London, came over to me and said, "My friend thinks you're cute." Now I've got soccer sweatshirt with the hood up. I had really short hair with my hair on my head, didn't care about appearance so much, just cared about soccer. And I said, "Okay, who?" Long story short, he connected us, and we did everything together, including going to Central together.
I've got many images in my mind that I can reflect back, seeing you guys out in the soccer field, and one of the saddest days that I've experienced as a coach is when Sean was in an accident and on his motorcycle. I think it was maybe a morning and he got hit by a caravan and he lost his life. And just a great soccer player. He was probably nearly at his peak of his career. He was just playing fantastic. And he's one of these guys who, I'm a big believer, Julie, that there's two kinds of people who bring darkness into a room, people who bring light. And every time he came, he brought light. He always had that smile on his face. And and that was a devastating event for obviously his family, who are great family. I love his family. Mm-hmm. And for his teammates, and I'm sure, that had to be really tough for you at that point.
He was coming through Lebanon. So what I did, I try and find ways to grieve. I've had a lot of death in my life in 42 years, and Sean is one of the most impactful ones. So my way of grieving was I had a friend of mine call me early in the morning and said, "I don't know if you saw the news." So he was the one that broke the news to me. And I one of the things I did was I turned to alcohol. And the other thing I did, so alcohol was not to grieve. Alcohol was a Band-Aid that didn't serve much of a purpose other than to numb. But what I did to grieve was I met with a friend and we got soil and mulch, potting soil and mulch, and we planted flowers right on the corner where he was killed. And parts of his bike were there. And that was my way of grieving. But you know what? I hear certain songs or I do certain things and Sean's still right here. He's just, there's really nothing. Yes, my life has moved on and I've had children, but there's nothing really like that first love. And him and I had a deep connection. So he's with me. He's still with us.
I think about him often. It's super. And, Sean, you got lots of love down here.
100%.
He's never forgotten. Never forgotten.
No.
You are a self-employed entrepreneur.
Yes, sir.
Yes, that sounds very exciting. I want you to tell us a little bit. I want you to tell us a little bit about Melaleuca. Melaleuca. I got it right this time. That's a company you work for. And tell our audience. We've got people all over the world who actually watch Soccer Coach TV, Julie. And
awesome.
So can you tell us about what is it exactly you do as an entrepreneur?
Sure. So here's what I found, just to preface, working a 9 to 5 or working for somebody else, I found myself trading my time for that paycheck, and really robbed myself of, Taya's first steps, first words. When my oldest was really little, I was working for somebody else. And for the past 10 plus years, what I found is if I can work for me, which has its own bag of goods and bads, right? But if I can work for me, I can call my own shots. And Melaleuca, I stumbled across just 18 months ago. And we are a 35-year-old direct-to-consumer wellness company. So number one, I get to keep my background in wellness and athleticism alive, but I also get to show people a different way to shop. So there's some scary companies out there in a multi-level marketing space or arena that you can invest a lot of time and money into and not reap residual income or the benefit out of.
Right.
And I paid that price. I did go down a wrong avenue, which is how I know, and I'm convicted with, that God kind of led me. God didn't kind of, He did lead me into the arms of a safe place to build a business. So I don't work for Melaleuca. I have an online shopping club that I do education and marketing for. It's an alternative to shopping where you can have a greener, safer, non-toxic products in your home. So really excited about that. And I'll just add to that, Sean, is that when I lost my sister to breast cancer a long time ago, I remember her telling me that there's chemicals and preservatives in our products that we're breathing and eating, digesting every day. So I'm able to keep her voice alive too by being a marketing executive for Melaleuca. It's awesome.
Wow, it sounds like you're doing a great job and you're loving it. What would you do if you had one wish? What would be a dream job? If you could do any job you wanted to do, what would it be?
Dream job. My off-the-cuff answer would be where I know I've wanted to be since I was 13. I know the exact moment that I knew what I wanted to do, what my life's purpose was. So my answer would be to be in an impoverished area, whether it's here in our country or in Africa or somewhere else, and work with kids, work with youth, and probably shed light on Jesus. I don't know how deep you want to go, but I would, some kids just need to be told they're great. And that's what I would want to spend my life doing.
Yeah, it takes one person to love you to change your life.
That's it.
You know?
And how many of them don't know? They just don't know. Yeah.
And we're going to going to get a little bit deeper about your spirituality later on. And but I am very curious. I think you're the first princess I've ever met. From the Lumbee tribal princess. Now, come on, explain that. That is a Native American tribe from North Carolina, right?
Yes, sir.
And
yes, sir.
They actually, how are you connected with the Lumbee tribe?
Cool. I didn't know you were going to ask any of this, but definitely not that. So my dad is 100% American Indian. The Lumbee tribe is from Lumberton, North Carolina. We reside primarily on the Lumber River. My dad raised us to be very proud of our heritage. And it's something I'm just now diving deeper into. And luckily, social media, there's actually a page of how many people on here are Lumbee. And there's a whole bunch of us that have.
There's actually 55,000 members in the Lumbee tribe. I did my homework. I did my homework, Julie. There's 55,000 members down there. Mm-hmm. Have you been down to North Carolina to?
Over and over. My dad brought us down there every year. We would drive. It's a 14-hour schlep. And we would go as little kids, and he would put us around our people and learn the foods. And I don't know the language. I wish that I did. I have a whole bunch more to learn. But yes, I go down there all the time. And now, ironically, my daughter's going to college down there. So my heart's there.
There's over 2,000 tribes, recognized tribes in the USA. I was reading.
We are not one of them yet. We are fighting that right now.
Why is that?
Well, that's a really good question. My best way to answer it from the knowledge I've gained in the last couple of years is that there are other tribes that would lack if we were to get the recognition that we're striving for. Cherokee has come up in conversation. It may be a money issue. I know that when I first got my tribal card, Sean, it was in a little one-room place down there in North Carolina. And now when I went to get it reinstated, because it had expired, it's a big place with Lumbee and digital and our logo and our, so I don't think it's a money issue as much as it is, which is going on in our world right now, people fighting people with yellow tape in politics, where we all just need to kind of put the guns down and the fists down and love instead of, so.
And embracing your heritage, you know?
100%.
Absolutely. So, I hear you've got a pretty serious green thumb.
I do love to plant. Where did you get that from?
I've got I do a homework, I told you. You got a pretty green thumb there. You know, I'm moving into a house. I just bought a house. I'm moving in a couple of weeks. And what attracted me to this house is that the former owner must have spent an unbelievable amount of money and years, I'm talking decades, on building this huge, big garden. It's about 5,000 square foot and every plant imaginable in there. And it is phenomenal. And probably in about 12 months, it's going to look like a jungle.
So are you subliminally asking me to come?
Yeah, we'll hire you as a gardener. There you go. You seem to me like a person who'd like to be like out in the woods somewhere, self-sufficient, got your own garden.
100%.
You know?
Well, I'm way more conscious about what goes in my body now than used to, food-wise, right? So the first direction I go when you start talking about that is doing the gardens in the areas where the people don't know to have one and right? So it's an idea that's actually written down. It's funny that you asked that.
That's great. So you want a boat, eh?
Say again?
You would like to own a boat someday.
Own a boat.
Yes.
I will own a boat one day.
Yeah.
Will.
What attracts you about a boat?
Freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom. Travel and meeting other people. I want to try food I don't know how to pronounce. I want to potentially maybe adopt a child in my future.
Wow.
So I need to get out there and plant seeds in other parts of I want to be as diverse as I possibly can. When I leave this earth, I want to go out exhausted. You know? Just, I want to go out, I'm coming in sideways, coming in hot. Yeah.
I'm 61 now. And, you know, it's strange because I'm always around young, vibrant people in my career. You know, in my job, I'm at a university, I'm around top athletes. And so you never feel your age. But when I hear people my age or older saying, you know, it sucks getting old, you know, and it doesn't. It's great getting old because of what it means. I've achieved something. I've got to a point where younger people can't guarantee they can get to.
That's right.
You know, you're hoping you'll be 60. You know, I've already done it, you know, so I embrace it. I embrace every day. And I try to live, you know, there's been things happening in my life, but, you know, it sounds cliche, but I do live in the moment, live in the second, you know, live in the minute. Because really, at the end of the day, that's all you can. You know, learn from your experiences. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, you're an open book to a certain degree on social media.
Yes, sir.
You have shared your experiences somewhat in terms of you kind of self-admitted that you were drinking excessive alcohol and you got through that journey. I mean, tell me a little bit about why did you think you were an alcoholic and how was it changing your life? And
So I don't label myself as an alcoholic, but I was within moments, within inches of having that title. So alcohol runs in all areas of my family.
Mhm.
And I have family members that have struggled. The beauty, we are all sober right now, all of us. I was able to turn off the alcohol kind of cold turkey, and that was just over 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And let me just step back just for a moment. I put it out there because I'm always in hopes and praying that someone, even if it's one person, can hear what I say or see my vulnerable message and go, if she can do it, I can do it. I'm always hoping that someone will get something from it. So that's why I'm so transparent on social media. It's a platform for us to use it for however we want. So why not put the skeletons out there? I've learned to embrace my flaws. And so about 2 years ago, I had a night where too much to drink. A couple of draft beers, couple of shots for a little tiny person is too much. And so I didn't drink every day, but when I did, coach, there was a fine line of blacking out or becoming ill and then can't get out of bed the next day. And I heard a song come on the radio on a Christian station on K-Love, and it's a song called Clean by Natalie Grant. And I'm going to learn to play it on the piano. But this song was playing while I was in the bathroom, and I just had a moment of looking at myself in the mirror going, you can do better. You can be better. When you're telling your little girls that you can't get out of bed because you're sick when you're really just hungover, it's not okay. And now I look back and go, I'm a role model for these kids.
What was resorting to alcohol? What was that telling you? What was the alcohol telling you? What was the message it was giving you?
What was the message from the alcohol to me?
Yeah.
You can handle it. You can handle this. Don't think about that. Don't think about the struggles in your life. It's a numbing mechanism. And unfortunately, it's got a lot of people by the throat.
Well, it is 86%. I was on the National Survey of Drug Use and Health website this morning. And in 2018, 86% of the people aged 18 or older have drank alcohol. And it's a 70% report they drank it in the past year. And believe it or not, 25% of the people ages 18 or older report they engaged in binge drinking. It's a massive issue. Hey, look, I've had my days, believe me. You know, I like a bottle of wine, and I'm not a big beer drinker, but I think during this pandemic, people have liquor stores are essential services.
I don't even know if I can get started on that. Churches are closed, but liquor stores are open. What?
Right, and some of them deliver, I think, but it is something that I think that a lot more people than admit go through. And it's, you know, what is the definition of an alcoholic? And I was just looking at it this morning. It says here that it says women should have no more than 3 drinks in one day and no more than 7 drinks in a week. The men, it is no more than 4 drinks in one day and 14 drinks a week.
And who decided that?
This is from the National Survey of Drug Use.
Interesting.
That's their recommendations. And obviously, what's a drink? You know, I mean, it depends on the size of the drink and everything. I think the big thing is that obviously there's major health issues involved with excessive drinking, right?
Yes.
There's accountability, Julie. How did you account for yourself, your actions?
How did I account for my actions when I was drinking?
Yeah.
There isn't. How much accountability can, listen, my mind, I'll say mine. I don't want to speak generally because I want people to hopefully hear this message, but your clarity You are not in tune with your life or your purpose when you have alcohol in and out of your system. So for me, what accountability could I have? When I knew I didn't drink every day, but if I had a bad day, it's let's have a drink. When the kids are in sleep, let's have a drink. I found myself using it as a crutch. So what accountability can you have when you're foggy all the time?
My God, I'm feeling guilty. I think I might be an alcoholic. I've drank so much through this epidemic. I'm starting to feel like a hypocrite here, you know? But it is, this, I mean, it's laying it out there. This show that we do, I mean, there's people watching this show right now who are thinking, oh my God, you know, am I an alcoholic? Am I not? I think when your actions start to impede on others, right?
Yes, that's what you were asking me, is there's a safe way to drink alcohol. And again, I don't consider myself an alcoholic because I'm able to go without it and not think about it. And we have this society as framed that if you have your drink in a brown bag and you're homeless on the street, that you're an alcoholic. There's way more parts of that spectrum. It's very large for alcohol. But I just want to touch on what's the reason you're drinking. It can be weed, it can be sex, it can be alcohol, it can be food. What is underneath there that you're disheartened about or angry about, and get to that. And the only way to get to it is to put the vice down.
So if you are around friends, right?
Yep.
And you're out tailgate party, whatever it is, and
yep.
Some guy you know is out there banging back the beers and everything. Do you lecture these people? Do you trying to convert them over to being sober 100%? I mean,
no, that's why I value this platform, because I have had people come to me after I've done a live video on Facebook and they've private messaged me and said, thank you so much for posting that. It shed light for them. I'm never going to judge anyone who chooses to drink. Maybe they're capable. Where I come from and with the genes and the family I have, I had to delete it before it deleted me. There's too high of a risk there. So no, I can tailgate without judging.
I mean, it's challenging enough, I think, on multiple levels. But you know, it's 1 in 10 kids that live with a parent who has alcoholic problems, and I think that's been amplified through the pandemic too. You know, when you're now, you know, maybe at home more and frustrations. I think Italy is one example. In Italy, spousal abuse went up something like 20% throughout this pandemic, and I just can't imagine. I mean, I feel like, you know, a lot of people are blessed; they're at home with people they love, but that isn't the reality. A lot of people at home with people they fear because they drink and get abusive and physically, mentally, verbally abusive. So there's lots of things, but it's an inspiration that not the fact that you stopped and recognized the fact that you are going to be more complete without the aid of excessive alcohol. I still don't think there's anything wrong having a glass of wine with dinner and blah, blah, blah.
Right, let's be clear. Right.
Yeah. But I think the biggest thing is that, you know, it hopefully it resonates with somebody who thinks, wow, you know, it is possible. I can change.
It might be the missing piece for some. Two things. There's a generational responsibility. There's a generational curse in my family where it kept getting passed down.
Yeah.
If I have kids, I personally feel I have an obligation that if I can stop that generational curse, my kids have less of a chance of having a problem with alcohol because mommy gave it up. Mm-hmm. That's important to me. And I forgot my other point. I had a second.
I'm just going to read something here, okay?
Yeah.
So it says, if you want to change your thoughts, your actions will change, and ultimately positive change will come. That's a quote from you, okay? So how did the change come? Was it spiritual? Like you said, you heard this song, right? And you said, I can be better than this, okay? But how did that transfer from, did you always have a really strong spiritual belief, or was it one day an epiphany, bang, I believe in God?
Great question. We grew up non-denominational church. I got away from God. When I watched her go to 80 something pounds attached to morphine and I watched cancer take her, I got angry at God. How could there be a God when I just witnessed I don't have my big sister? So I got angry. A couple of years after that, I got pregnant. You could tell that my mindset was, I just don't give a beep and then keep going. Christ came back into my life very recently. I was baptized last July with my younger daughter. And I wasn't saying to myself, wow, I really need to get baptized, because I was baptized as a baby. I really need to get baptized. It was a reoccurring theme coming to me from God, saying, you know what? I have seeds that He planted inside me that, here's my biggest fear, Sean. Let me answer it this way. My biggest fear is that I leave this planet without fulfilling my purpose. Mm-hmm. And if there's alcohol in my life, if there's an angry relationship in my life, if there's these things that we do have control over that we choose to hide from or run from, I'm never going to live my purpose. I'm never going to be able to see things clear enough to get into my purpose. So I grew up around anger, mm-hmm. and I have been slowly chipping away at, I don't talk about this part ever. I've been slowly chipping away at the angry part of Julianne, because it's another trait I don't want to pass on. And alcohol and anger don't go well together. So removing the alcohol brought the anger down. And now I'm forced to look at, what are my fears and what are my angers, and how can I get into where my purpose is? So to answer your question, alcohol got removed. God pushed me into baptism, and baptism is a rebirth. And now I walk with Him. My two favorite books are Outwitting the Devil, yeah, and my New Morning Mercies. I do a daily devotional where I read one page. It's not a ton of reading, but I'm constantly molding my brain, because if we're left to our own thoughts, there are some people that don't believe in God. But if we're left to our own thoughts and willpower, we will mess it up every time.
Well, I talked with a great guy, Kasim Outlaw, the other week. He was on the show. He's very spiritual. And I was an altar boy, for a year when I was a little kid. I was an altar boy when I was at school. And it was cool to wear the gowns and to stand beside the priest on the Mass on Sunday. For like 1 week, I really wanted to be a priest. That was my goal until I got some common sense. Never going to be a priest, because I'd like to party too much when I was a kid. But question is, so who is God then? There's 12,000 gods that are documented in mankind in history. Everything from Zeus to the Greek gods, from Buddhism to you name it, and to the sun, everything's been worshipped. And who in your mind is God?
You may not like my answer. God to me is anyone who is drawing you to your real self. It's a figure. I don't have conversations with God. I can't hear Him audibly. I know some people can. I feel Him physically. I have a fire that's in there and a warmth that's in there, where He nudges me, and I shouldn't say it in a past tense. He's currently nudging me. This, you and I talking, didn't come out of our own accord. It came from a higher power. So to me, who is God? God is the Father of Jesus. Jesus is my brother. God is my Father God. And it is something or someone that stretches you beyond what you could ever do for yourself.
And he's always referred to as he. It could be a woman with a white beard. I mean, we don't know, right? But it's just curious, because I find it very hard, Julie, for me to understand how you think about God without having a mental impression of what He actually looks like. in that traditional sense, God is, in Christianity, we have this picture of Jesus looking one way and God, with a big white beard sitting in the clouds, whatever. So when I think of God, I can't imagine him as anything else. So I'm just trying to get at, do you have a photograph in your mind of what you think God looks like, or is he totally invisible? It's just what I'm hearing from you. It's more of a consciousness than something else, right?
It's
an awareness.
It's a spiritual thing. It's a spiritual connection. Do I have a little picture that my mom gave me of what God looks like? Of course I do. But that's not my go-to. My go-to is there's already been proof. I'm a work in progress, but I'm a completely different person than I was 2 years ago. And that's God's doing work, chiseling away at me. So I don't have it as one. I think that, Sean, to your point, I think that the world we live in is that we need to have a tangible thing to say, this is water. These are glasses. What does love look like? Well, love and guidance and strength doesn't have a face. So it's more of a consciousness and awareness of myself and somebody pushing me out of the nest.
And God may just be yourself. How you feel like for Buddhism, when you look at Buddhism, they believe that, in inner peace, right? You find inner peace within yourself. And with that, with the inner peace, you can't find happiness, true self-happiness, in money, okay? Or your job, or even in another person. Because if your happiness depends on how much money you have, it's going to fluctuate. If your happiness depends on whether you're happy at work, you're going to have bad days at work. Your happiness is going to go down. If it's on another person, your happiness depends on another person. It's going to fluctuate between that relationship. The happiness is going to be constant within you. That's where you draw your happiness from. Like I said, it's not the external things. It's got to be in the inside. So is that kind of like how you feel, or?
That's 100% how I feel. I have several posts of it's an inside job. We all work on making ourselves really pretty and how we look for other people to see us. But what work are we doing on our soul? What work are we doing on the inside? The better you get at that, better you'll look on the outside.
But listen, I know you were an image consultant at one time in your professional career. So give me some tips. How can I look more beautiful in this?
Keep working on the inside. Sean, you're doing a great job, man. I'm
hey, for 61, I'm still kicking it,
you're doing awesome.
I'm still
I have no tips.
So you know what I did the other day? We were bored, me and my girlfriend. We watched a TV show called 90 Day Fiancé.
90 Day Fiancé.
It's great. It's
really
hilarious. It's a reality show. Yeah. It's on its fourth episode now, fourth series now, and it's all different people. And anyway, there's this guy called Big Ed. He's very famous on social media. Small guy, white guy, and tries to find his love with the girl in Indonesia or somewhere like that, some other country. But anyway, he's funny as hell. He puts mayonnaise on his hair, right? You ever heard that?
No.
Yeah.
Well, as a hair mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He puts mayonnaise on his hair, leaves it on for 15 minutes, takes a shower, and it looks great. So we tried that the other day. We got a jar of mayonnaise and we put mayonnaise. So as an image consultant, connecting that with what we're talking about right now, some spirituality, right? Do you believe, Julie, that people, for the most part, okay, and we know there's obviously extremes, but for the most part, do you believe that people see themselves the way that other people see them for the most part?
100%. We are conditioned as little tiny people to sit down and shut up, listen to the teacher, listen to the coach, listen to my mom. Absolutely. We are so focused on how others view us. Do I say the right thing? Did I do the right thing? Do I laugh the right way? Is my tone of voice? It can get so overwhelming, this idea of perfection. And that has been one of my struggles, is to care less about the external and what other people view of me. So now I to go back to God, it's my creator. Am I pleasing my creator? Am I living my life as close to how he would want me to live it? Not for mankind anymore.
I years ago, 2006, I suffered a massive heart attack and died. I actually flatlined. And I was dead. And I won't get into all the details, but I was clinically dead. They had to put paddles on my chest, just like you see on the TV. And it took me 4 times to get my heart beating again. And the next day, when I was in hospital, I mean, one of the biggest things I learned going through that experience, people say you only live once. It's not true. You know, it's my second life, and it literally is. And it impacted me, changed how I view life totally, totally different. And that first night when I was in bed in the hospital room alone, a priest came in, and he asked me if I wanted him to give me my last rites. And I said, you know, I am a Catholic, you know. And he did. He gave me my last rites and stood above me, blessing me. And for me, that was just an incredible moment in terms of, you know, I was searching. Am I going somewhere else? You know, you question yourself. Is it just a lie? You know, is this it? Is this the end? And I think everybody's asked them that question. What do you believe? Honestly believe, Julie, do you think that once we leave this body, okay, do you think we go to another place?
I absolutely believe in heaven and hell. And I am excited to see my older sister and Sean and my grandmother and people that have passed on before me. I believe there's no bruises and no pain there. Life is hard and harder for some of us than others. And I believe, yes, I believe we go to heaven. I believe that I get to be welcomed into heaven by him. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you a true story. There's these 2 guys were best friends. They were into soccer big time, right? One was called Fred and one was called Nobby. That was his name, from England. And you know, they were a bit older, and they were best friends, and they made a pact. They said, let's make a pact that if one of us dies, you have to try and contact the other one who's down here living. You know, do your best to try and prove that it's life after death. So what happened a week after, Fred was a soccer player and Nobby was a referee. And Fred, the soccer player, was walking down the street a couple of days later, and he got ran over by a truck and died. Yeah. And so Nobby, who was a referee, he was just blown away by everything. A couple of months later, he was refereeing a game, and he heard this voice shout, "Nobby!" And he looked around. Nobody's on he couldn't see anybody. Looked around again. And he said, "Nobby, Nobby!" He looked up to the clouds. He says, "Fred, is that you?" Fred says, "Yeah." He says, "Where are you?" He says, "I'm in heaven." He says, "No way." He says, "Yeah." He says, "There is a heaven." He says, "But I've got some good news and bad news for you, Nobby." He says, "What do you want first?" He says, "Well, give me the good news." He says, "Well, in heaven, there's no football, there's no baseball, there's none of these sports. There's only soccer in heaven. Everybody plays in a beautiful stadium." He says, every stadium, every time we play a game, it's packed. He says, "It's unbelievable. The fields are lush green fields, immaculate." He says, "Well, what's the bad news?" He says, "You're refereeing our game next Saturday."
See, that could be taken 2 ways. Oh my, please tell me that the referee's still here. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you one quick one. So, devil and the God, right? We're having this big argument who the most powerful being was in the world, in the universe. The devil said to God, let's play a game of soccer to decide who's the most powerful. God said, "Are you crazy?" He says, "You know, all the greatest soccer players, whoever played the game, once they die, go straight to heaven." And the devil says, "Yeah, but we got all the referees."
I love Both of your stories revolve around soccer. I love it. I love it.
So, do you remember your sophomore year at East Lyme?
Sophomore year at East Lyme?
Yeah.
Vaguely.
And you were in a cafeteria one day, and this senior football player came and grabbed you, and he threw you into a garbage can.
My brother.
Oh, your brother.
Threw my brother.
Your brother into a garbage can. And then,
yeah.
Did you tackle him, or who was that?
Yeah, that was me. I kicked him in the cubes.
Yeah. So this big football player took your brother, who was about 100 pounds, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
And he tossed him into the garbage can, thought he was bullying him, it was horrible. And then you just saw this happen, and you were just you had to weigh nothing. You just ran and kicked him right in the balls, right?
I did. I did. And now Jared is my little brother, Jared, who has an amazing story. And he's just coming into his own and spreading his wings right now too in his life. But Sean McFadden, I mean, at the time you must think he was like 7 feet tall, big football player, good football player. And here's my brother trying to play football, but sitting mostly the bench and not the best athlete. And yeah, he picked up my brother and threw him in head first. Jared was locked in lockers. I mean, you name it, he was picked on big time. But it's made him to who he is now, and that's a whole nother chapter.
Well, you know what it is, though. To me, when I read that story, I mean, it just kind of epitomizes, I think, what people perceive about you. Incredibly brave woman, and will take on any challenge ahead of her. And no matter what the consequences, you're going to succeed. I can see that. And I think you're an inspiration, not just to women out there and young girls, but inspiration to men and to anybody who'd like to, change their life, and many people do. But Julie, listen, I've had such a great time talking with you, and I really appreciate you coming on Soccer Coach TV. I will include some links on our website, on our YouTube channel. If you can touch base, if you've got questions with Julie, if you want to reach out. Julie, thank you so much.
It's an honor. It's an honor to rub shoulders again with you after 20 years and not just talk about soccer where we are now. It's such an honor. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you. Well, listen, for all you guys and girls out there who are watching Soccer Coach TV, again, your time is the most important thing for me, and I feel blessed that you would take your time to watch and listen to me and Julie on Soccer Coach TV. Remember, if you like Soccer Coach TV, subscribe. Go to YouTube, subscribe, Facebook, and Instagram. We'll see you next time on Soccer Coach TV. Thank you.
Awesome.